Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're not just looking at history through some dusty lens, no, we're actually going to step right into it. I want you to completely immerse yourself in this source material, placing yourself directly into the shoes of history's most famous Roman. You're going to feel the literal weight of his choices, from the gritty streets of his childhood all the way to the cold marble floor of his final moments. So, take a breath, step back in time, and let's dive right in.
Level 1. The Golden Cage. You're 6 years old. The year is 94 BC in Rome. Your house smells like old marble and even older debt. Now, your family name is ancient, Julius Caesar. It's the kind of name that opens doors the way a drawn sword parts a crowd. But the catch? There is no gold left behind those doors. The name is the inheritance, but the debt is very, very real. Your family lives crammed into the Subura, which is essentially the wrong side of the city. It's loud, it's overcrowded, and it is knife-sharp after dark. From your upstairs window, you watch the senators pass by in their litters. You see the white togas, the soft hands, the rings on every single finger. And you memorize every face. Because even at 6 years old, you already understand one thing with absolute clarity. A name without power is nothing more than noise.
Part 1. A name without power.
Level 2. The Hunted Boy. Let's jump to 82 BC. You are 18 now, and Sulla has seized Rome. He's writing lists, literal names on parchment that become death warrants by morning. Your family unfortunately backed the wrong side of his war, and Sulla, he remembers everything. His men strip your priesthood. They confiscate your wife Cornelia's dowry. They want absolutely every stone attached to your name. So you slip out of the city right before the soldiers reach your door, running north through these frozen fields. You're sleeping in barns, bribing checkpoint guards with borrowed coins. At one point, a fever pins you down for a week in a stranger's loft. You burn, you shiver, but you survive. When Sulla finally dies in his bed like an old man in Rome exhales, you are still breathing in the dark. He never found you. And that is your first real lesson. Survival is a skill. And you're already exceptional at it.
38. That is the exact number of days you spend captive. We're now at level 3, the ransom. You're 25 years old, 75 BC. The Aegean Sea is flat and silver at dawn. Suddenly, Cilician pirates board before your crew can even react. Dozens of them, blades already drawn.
They chain you below deck and name their price, 20 talents of silver. You look at the man holding the chain, and you literally laugh in his face. You tell him you are worth at least 50. He thinks you're completely delirious. But you spend those 38 days on that ship like you own it. You recite poetry at them during dinner. You demand silence when you want to sleep. And every single evening you tell them, calmly and without even raising your voice, exactly what you'll do once you're free. You promise to crucify them. They find it hilarious. But then, the ransom arrives. You step off the ship into the sunlight, and you immediately hire 4 vessels, hunt them down island by island, and crucify every single one of them on that exact same shore. Because you told them you would. You always mean what you say.
Part 2. The Price of Ambition.
Now we hit level 4, the Weeping General. You're 32, it's 68 BC. Spain is dry, quiet, and decidedly not Rome. You're governing a minor province at the western edge of the world, just settling land disputes for people who will probably never remember your name. But then, in the Forum of Gaze, you stand before a marble statue of Alexander the Great. Now think about this. He was your exact age when he died, and he had already crossed the known world and reached its edge. You stand in front of that statue in the baking afternoon heat. The white stone is blinding. Your chest tightens. Your eyes go wet and you don't even wipe them. Your officers stand well back, saying nothing. But you aren't embarrassed. You just walk back to your tent, write your resignation by lamplight, and you leave for Rome. You realize you've wasted enough time standing at the edge of a world that still has a center you haven't conquered.
Level 5. The Debt Engine. It's 63 BC. You're 37. Rome runs on favors, and you are spending them faster than any man in the city. You start borrowing at just catastrophic rates from Marcus Crassus, literally the wealthiest man alive. You're throwing public games that last for days, filling arenas with gladiators, flooding the streets with free grain, until the crowd screams your name so loud it shakes the columns above the Senate steps. It's a simple formula, really. Every coin buys a vote, every vote buys an office, and every office opens the next door. Sure, your creditors are pacing outside your house at dawn, and the pressure is enormous, but you use it as fuel. You end up winning the office of Pontifex Maximus through methodical, absolutely unashamed bribery. The old senators find it distasteful, but you find their distaste irrelevant. The machine has to keep moving, and it will keep moving.
Level 6, the three-headed monster. You are 40 years old now, 60 BC. You've finally accepted a hard truth. Rome cannot be seized alone. So you sit down with Pompey the Great and Marcus Crassus. Think about this lineup. One commands armies and the kind of loyalty that only decades of military glory can buy. The other controls wealth that could finance entire wars out of pocket. And you bring the crowd, the hunger, and the long-term clarity that neither of them possesses. Three men, no written contract, no seal, no witnesses. Just a cold understanding between wolves that the Republic is large enough to divide, and frankly, too valuable to leave to the Senate any longer. History is going to call this the First Triumvirate. You walk out of that meeting with a military command, a northern province, and 4 legions.
Part 3. Forging the Hammer. Level 7. The Hammer. You're 42 in 58 BC, and you don't go home for 8 long years. Your soldiers are marching 20 miles a day through unmapped forests, swamps, and mountains. You're eating the exact same rations as your men. Out there beyond the Alps, there are entire nations that have never once heard the word Rome. Well, that's about to change, permanently. Your ambition literally reshapes the landscape. You build a bridge across the Rhine in 10 days flat. You cross the Gray Sea into Britannia twice, just to plant the eagle and make your point. And in 52 BC, when Vercingetorix unites Gaul against you in the most dangerous uprising you've ever faced, you don't pull back. You build a ring of walls entirely around his walls. You starve him out for months until he finally rides out in his shining armor and lays his sword at your feet in absolute silence.
1 million. That is the chilling number of the dead. And another million human beings are enslaved. Let that sink in. Entire nations permanently subjugated. Gaul is now Rome. Now, the historical reality of this slaughter is immense. Modern history often looks back and calls this absolute destruction a genocide. But you're writing it all down yourself in perfect, clean Latin. You completely control the narrative. You frame the conquest purely in military terms, and you simply call it a war.
Part 4. The Point of No Return.
You're 51 years old. It's 49 BC. Right now, there is just one river standing between you and Italy, the shin-deep, completely unremarkable Rubicon River. The Senate has built a legal trap on the far side. You have a choice: disband your army, walk into Rome alone, and die by Pompey's blade, or step into the cold water with your one silent legion and become a criminal under Roman law. The cold water floods your boots. You look at the far bank, then back at your men. Alea icta est. The die is cast. You take a step. You've never turned back from anything in your entire life, and tonight is definitely not the night that changes.
What follows is just a relentless pursuit. At 52, you completely destroy Pompey's forces at Pharsalus, despite having only half his numbers. He flees to Egypt, and you follow without pausing. But before you can even disembark, a sealed wooden box is delivered to you. You open it. Inside is the severed head of Pompey, the greatest general in Rome, and the man who was once your daughter's husband. You actually turn your face away from your officers. He deserved a better ending than that. But you stay in Egypt just long enough to place Cleopatra on a crumbling throne, and then you march east to crush the final resistance at Zela.
That final battle at Zela? It takes exactly 4 hours. You crush them. Then you send 3 simple words back to the Senate in Rome. Veni, vidi, vici. I came, I saw, I conquered. You somehow managed to fit the entire world inside those 3 words.
Part 5. The World You Built.
You are 55 years old now. The year is 44 BC. The Senate has laid literally everything at your feet. You possess absolute power. You're named dictator for life. Your face is pressed onto every coin from Spain to Syria, and they even rename the month of your birth to July, carving your existence permanently into time itself. But, it's your performance of this power that ultimately seals your fate. You push through bouts of the falling sickness in public, always looking to the next campaign. You receive senators while sitting in an ivory chair, refusing to even stand to greet them. And this arrogance, it's making the men who once feared you colder and much, much more patient. Even men like Gaius Cassius and your pardoned ally Marcus Junius Brutus, a man you treated like a son, they're looking at you differently now.
The tension hits its absolute breaking point on March 15th, 44 BC, the Ides of March. At the door, your wife Calpurnia grips your arm. She had a dream, the roof collapsed, and you bled out on the marble. On the road, a soothsayer repeats his warning to beware this very day. Near the forum steps, someone presses a note into your fist. It contains everything you need to know. The names, the plot, all of it.
But you just close your hand around it. You never read it.
You walk into the Senate Hall and it is just filled with white togas. These are the very men you personally pardoned, men whose careers you built with your own political capital, men who drank at your table last winter. They press in close with a petition. But they're way too close. There are too many of them, and their arrangement is entirely too deliberate. And then, the first blade catches your shoulder. You grip the arm. The second blade comes, then the third.
23. That's the sheer number of wounds. The marble is freezing cold against your cheek. Through the blood, the noise, and the narrowing dark, you turn your face. And there, standing over you with a blade still in his hand, is Brutus. You look at him for a long, silent moment. And then, you pull your toga over your face so that not a single one of them gets to watch you fall.
It all began with a 6-year-old boy watching senators from a crumbling window in the cramped Subera. And it ended here, as history, bleeding out on a cold marble floor surrounded by the very men you loved and elevated. You built the world that killed you. So looking back at the awe-inspiring heights and the brutal depths of this ascent, I want to leave you with this. When power is measured by the sheer force of one's will, what is the true cost of that legacy? Keep questioning, keep exploring, and we'll see you next time